There's one dream that every single pioneer has held on to for 6 long years. It's the ultimate moment of validation. The moment when all the critics, all the doubters, and all the mainstream financial media are forced to admit they were wrong. We're not talking about listing on some random overseas exchange that nobody's heard of. We're talking about the big one, the gold standard of cryptocurrency exchanges, the gateway that connects crypto to Wall Street. We're talking about Coinbase. For years, the skeptics laughed at us. They said Coinbase only lists serious projects. They'll never touch a mobile mining app. US regulators would shut them down immediately. They wanted you to believe we were permanently locked out of the biggest capital market on Earth. But here's what I'm about to show you. The tide has completely turned. Everything has changed. And the very things Coinbase used to criticize about Pi, our massive user base and our careful approach to compliance, are suddenly the exact things that can save their struggling business. Coinbase needs a major win just as badly as we need mainstream acceptance. But getting listed isn't magic. There's a very specific roadmap that must be followed to unlock the doors to the US financial system. Today, I'm breaking down exactly what needs to happen, step by step, for Pi to land on Coinbase. And I'm going to reveal why a recent massive victory just accelerated this timeline faster than anyone realizes. But first, you need to understand why Coinbase is now practically begging for projects like ours. Hello again, Pi Network pioneers. I'm your host, Nathan. Before diving deep into our video, let's greet and welcome my incredible pioneers from around the world. Whether you're watching from Nigeria, Papua New Guinea, United States, India, Philippines, Canada, Kenya, or anywhere else on this beautiful planet, I'm absolutely thrilled to share this incredible news with you today. Before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you're always in the loop with the latest Pi Network updates. And don't forget to drop a comment saying Pi Network to the moon, along with your country and flag. Let's fill the comments with pioneer pride and show the world how powerful and united our global community really is. So, let's talk about the reality of crypto in America right now. To understand why a Coinbase listing has shifted from impossible to realistic, you need to understand the enormous pressure Coinbase is facing today. Coinbase is a publicly traded company in the United States. And for the last 2 years, the Securities and Exchange Commission has been waging war against them. The SEC has filed lawsuits claiming that almost every crypto asset Coinbase lists is actually an illegal security that should never have been offered to American customers. This has absolutely frozen their business. They're terrified to list new tokens because each one could trigger another lawsuit. Their trading volume has dropped significantly. Customers are leaving their platform for international competitors. They desperately need a new, massive, exciting project that they can list without immediately getting hit with legal action. They need a project that's genuinely decentralized, not controlled by a single company. They need real users, not bot accounts inflating numbers. And most importantly, they need a project that was built with compliance in mind from day one. Now look around the crypto landscape. Who's left standing? Almost every other major project is either already listed on Coinbase or currently being investigated by regulators. Then there's Pi Network. 50 million engaged users spread across the globe. The most extensive identity verification system in crypto history. And here's the key part. Pi was distributed directly to regular people, not sold by a central company trying to raise money. Suddenly, Pi isn't the risky mobile coin that traditional crypto folks made fun of. In a world where regulators are cracking down on everything, Pi Network represents the safest, most compliant, massive opportunity that's still available. The arrogance Coinbase showed in the past is gone. They need trading volume to survive, and we're one of the only projects that can bring it to them safely. But here's the thing. Desire and desperation aren't enough to make this happen. There are 3 massive obstacles that must be cleared before Pi can appear on Coinbase. And what most people don't realize is that we're right on the edge of clearing all three of them. But there's one hurdle that's more critical than anything else. The first requirement is obvious when you think about it, but it's absolutely critical to understand. Coinbase cannot list a closed network. It's technically impossible. They can't let customers buy and sell an asset if those customers can't move that asset off the exchange and into their own personal wallets. Think about how exchanges work. When you buy Bitcoin on Coinbase, you can immediately send that Bitcoin to your own wallet, to another exchange, to a friend, anywhere you want. That's what makes it liquid. That's what makes it real. Right now, Pi operates behind what we call the firewall. Transactions happen, but only within a controlled environment. This was necessary during the testing phase to prevent scams and to make sure everything worked properly before opening the floodgates. This is why the acceleration toward Open Mainnet is so incredibly vital. The moment that firewall drops and Pi can move freely across the blockchain, completely unrestricted, the first massive technical barrier preventing a Coinbase listing evaporates instantly. We know this is coming. The core team has clearly laid out the conditions that need to be met. The KYC verification, the migration to mainnet, the security audits. We're in the final stretch of this process. Every week, more pioneers complete their verification. Every week, the network gets closer to meeting the requirements Dr. Nicholas and the team set out. The technical pieces are falling into place. But here's where it gets complicated. Even with Open Mainnet fully operational, even with complete technical compatibility, Coinbase is still paralyzed by fear. Fear of the SEC. Fear of regulators showing up at their door with subpoenas and lawsuits. They need something more. They need protection. They need what people in business call air cover. Something they can point to and say, look, we're not being reckless. This asset has been approved somewhere. There's precedent. And that's exactly what just happened in Europe. But the implications of this European victory are so much bigger than most pioneers realize, and it's about to change everything. Coinbase needs some kind of precedent they can point to, something that proves to nervous lawyers and worried executives that listing Pi won't immediately trigger regulatory punishment. This is exactly why the MiCA regulation passing in Europe is potentially the most important event in Pi Network's entire history so far. Let me explain what MiCA actually is. MiCA stands for Markets in Crypto Assets. It's the European Union's comprehensive framework for regulating cryptocurrency. And it's not some loose, permissive set of guidelines. Europe has created the strictest, most demanding crypto laws on the entire planet.
When MiCA went into effect, hundreds of crypto projects panicked. Many exchanges shut down operations in Europe entirely rather than try to comply. The requirements are that tough. So when Pi Network successfully aligns with MiCA standards and gets approval to operate legally in the European Union, it sends an absolutely massive signal to regulators everywhere, including in the United States. It tells the world that a major Western power, an economic bloc representing nearly 450 million people, has examined Pi Network thoroughly and decided it's a legitimate financial asset, not a scheme or a fraud. Now here's why this matters so much for Coinbase. Their lawyers can now use that European approval as leverage in discussions with American regulators. They can make the argument, if Pi Network is good enough for the European Union, with their incredibly strict standards, why shouldn't it be acceptable in America? The European victory provides the regulatory air cover that Coinbase's legal team has been desperately searching for. It dramatically lowers the risk profile of listing Pi Network on their platform. But even this isn't enough. There's still a third requirement, a highly technical one that most people have never even heard about, and it's absolutely essential for rapid integration. Without this piece, getting listed could take years instead of months. But with it, everything changes, almost overnight. And the brilliant part is how the core team has been quietly preparing for this for years. Coinbase doesn't just build custom, individual integrations for every single new coin that gets listed. That approach would take forever and consume massive amounts of engineering resources. Years ago, Coinbase's technical team created an open-source standard called Rosetta. Think of Rosetta like a universal translator for blockchains. Different cryptocurrencies are built on different technical foundations, using different coding languages and different structures. If a blockchain's underlying code speaks Rosetta, meaning it's compatible with this standard, Coinbase can plug it into their system almost instantly. The integration happens smoothly and quickly. If a blockchain doesn't speak Rosetta, integration becomes painful, slow, and expensive. For years, we didn't know for certain whether Pi would be compatible with Rosetta. There was uncertainty about whether the core team was even aware of this requirement. But if you actually look at the technical documentation the core team has released over the past year, and if you understand that Pi Network is built on the Stellar Consensus Protocol, which is already highly compatible with institutional exchange standards, a picture starts to emerge. Dr. Nicholas and his team have been preparing for this integration the entire time. They've been building the technical backend to be plug-and-play ready for major exchanges from day one. When the order is given, when the decision is finally made to list Pi on Coinbase, integration won't take 6 months or a year. It could potentially take just days or weeks. So let's review where we stand. We have the 3 essential keys. Open Network is coming soon, the final technical barrier disappearing. Regulatory cover has been secured through European approval, giving Coinbase legal protection. And the technical standard is ready, making integration fast and efficient. The path is clear. The obstacles are being removed one by one. But this creates the biggest question of all, the question every pioneer really wants answered. If we actually get listed on Coinbase, if we actually open the doors to massive American institutional money, how does that translate into real price appreciation? How does it lead to the kind of consensus value we've been talking about? Numbers like $314,159 per coin. The answer involves understanding something most retail investors completely miss. This is where you have to completely change your thinking. You need to stop thinking like a regular person buying crypto on their phone and start thinking like Wall Street operates. The skeptics always say the same thing. If Pi gets on Coinbase, everyone's going to dump their coins immediately. The price will crash to $10 and never recover. It'll be a disaster. That scenario happens with small hype coins that have no real use case. Projects that got pumped up by influencers and have no fundamental value. That's not what happens with global infrastructure projects with real utility and massive user bases. A Coinbase listing opens the door to institutional capital. We're talking about hedge funds managing billions of dollars, pension funds responsible for retirement accounts, family offices representing generational wealth managing literally trillions of dollars in total assets. These institutional players don't buy $50 worth of crypto to see what happens. They don't invest like regular people. When they enter a position, they're allocating $50 million, $100 million, sometimes $500 million or more into a single asset. Now, do the math with me. Think about the economics of this situation. We know Pi is scarce. Mining is ending. The total supply is capped. Most long-term pioneers have their Pi locked up in various programs and aren't planning to sell immediately. The actual liquid supply available for trading on day one is going to be tiny compared to the total supply. Imagine a massive Wall Street firm, maybe a hedge fund or venture capital firm specializing in emerging technology, decides they need to own 1% of the total Pi supply as a long-term strategic bet on the future of digital currency. If they try to buy hundreds of millions of dollars worth of Pi, and the current market price is only $10 per coin, what happens? There isn't enough Pi available for sale at that price. Think about it. Long-term holders aren't selling at $10. People who waited 6 years aren't giving up their position for pennies. So this institutional buyer's orders start consuming every available sell order on the exchange instantly. The price doesn't just go up gradually. It doesn't climb slowly over months. It jumps. It teleports upward because there's no supply to meet the demand. It's what economists call a liquidity crisis, but in reverse. Instead of nobody wanting to buy, everybody wants to buy and there's nothing to buy. To accommodate institutional-sized purchases, to allow these massive players to enter positions without completely breaking the market, the price per coin must be extraordinarily high. A high consensus value, something like $314,159 per coin, stops seeming like a fantasy number. It becomes a mathematical necessity. It's the only way institutional liquidity can actually function. Wall Street needs the price to be high so they can enter the market with their enormous capital without causing chaos. When Coinbase lists Pi Network, they're not just adding another trading pair to their platform, they're lighting the fuse on potentially the greatest supply shock in financial history. Limited supply, meaning unlimited demand, equals price explosion. But understanding this creates the final and most dangerous trap that every single pioneer needs to avoid. Because knowing what's coming isn't enough if you make this one critical mistake.
Pioneers, we need to be absolutely clear about something. Wall Street and Coinbase are not your friends. They're not on your side. They're not rooting for you to get wealthy. They're in the business of making money, and that often means making money off you, not with you. They understand Pi is scarce. They've done the research. They know you've been waiting 6 long years, and many of you are exhausted. Many of you are frustrated. Many of you are ready to cash out the moment you see any significant number. They're counting on you being impatient. They're counting on human psychology working in their favor. They want you to see that first listing price. Maybe it's $50, maybe it's $100, and they want you to panic sell because it feels like a lot of money compared to zero. Compared to waiting years with nothing, $100 per coin sounds amazing. They want to shake you out of your position. They want to buy your Pi cheaply before the real institutional money flows in and sends the price to levels that seem impossible right now. The ultimate tragedy, the worst possible outcome, would be holding for 6 years, maintaining your belief through all the doubt and criticism, only to hand your potential generational wealth over to a Wall Street hedge fund on day one for a fraction of its real value. You're not holding a lottery ticket. This isn't gambling. You're holding a piece of future global financial infrastructure that the biggest players in the world are preparing to fight over. Do not forget that value. Do not let exhaustion or impatience cause you to sell the moment you see the first price that seems good. Get your security in order right now. Make sure your passphrase is stored safely in multiple secure locations. Make sure your KYC verification is complete. Make sure you're ready for what's coming. Do not get shaken out right before the finish line after running the entire race. The power dynamic has completely flipped. The massive US exchanges that once ignored Pi Network now need a win, and we represent the only major compliant opportunity still available. This is the endgame, pioneers. The old narrative that America would ban us, that regulators would shut us down, that we'd never be accepted by mainstream finance, that narrative is finished. It's over. The path is clearing right in front of us. Coinbase needs real users. We have 50 million of them. Coinbase needs compliant assets that won't trigger lawsuits. We have that compliance. Coinbase needs a new narrative to excite investors and rebuild their business. We are that narrative. The infrastructure is ready. The technical requirements are being met. The regulatory approvals are happening. The listing is becoming inevitable. You held through the doubt when everyone said it was impossible. You held through the silence when there was no news for months. Now hold for the ultimate vindication, the moment when the entire crypto world has to acknowledge what we built. Smash the like button if you're ready to see Pi on the biggest stage. Subscribe because the most important news is still ahead of us. We've come too far to quit now. I'll see you tomorrow.